need that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 20 of Unicorn Chef. I am Starr, and I am here with the ever lovely Daniel. You're going to have to help me on your last name if you want to disclose it.
That's quite all right. Last name is Uzupis. It's very difficult to pronounce, and I'm told we don't even pronounce it correctly. So I don't hold it against anyone if they get it wrong.
Well, it's actually very easy to say now that I've heard it, so no worries on that front. But Daniel is here, and we're here tonight to make brownies because sometimes you have to start with dessert, so why not? So what about this recipe? Tell me a little bit about where you found it, Daniel.
So I had a bit of an eat, pray, love moment a few years ago. I left Philadelphia, went to Iowa. Things didn't work out there. I wasn't happy with the area. Ended up getting laid off.
Lots of cows.
And I said, but actually more pigs than anything. It was actually hogs and corn out in that part because I was out in Iowa.
So much corn.
And I said to myself, now's the time to do it. I'm going to go to culinary school. And,
I love that.
And I got my culinary arts degree. One of the recipes that they had us work on during the baking course, because it was culinary arts, not baking.
Okay.
We did have one baking course, and they did Nick Malgieri's supernatural brownies, and I love this recipe. It has been box brownies are great. Nothing against them, But like every once in a while, you want to flex. You have your own recipe, and this one has done really well. The only problem is that it takes a day to make them, because you make them, you refrigerate them, and the next day you're able to cut into them and everything, make them perfect squares, rectangles, whatever you want to do. But
I love that.
Lovely recipe.
The thing with the refrigerating for an entire overnight cycle is like, what does that do? Does it just make it super dense? Like all the things come back together?
From they're too wet.
Yeah.
Basically, when you pull them out of the oven, they're too soft. If you cut into them, they will just fall apart. You're more than welcome to. Nothing's stopping you, right? The only limit is your imagination.
Right. The reason I ask is because I think we were chatting ahead of the stream just a little bit about recipes, and this is a very similar recipe to my go-to, which is a really old Nigella Lawson birthday. It was her first domestic goddess book or whatever.
Okay.
And that fucker takes 6 eggs. 6. That's a half dozen eggs and a tray of brownies. It's a little bit more flour, so everything's just a little bit more, but I think it's the same recipe, more or less. And she doesn't have that step. So I'm very curious to see what these are going to be like when they come out of the oven.
If you have more flour, that might be the issue. They hold together probably.
They might be, or it might just be ratioed. It might just be everything is a little bit less, so it's literally the same recipe. But now what's different? I'm not sure. Maybe it would normally be 3 eggs. That could be it. This is that 4th egg, just taking it to the next level. So you went from IT or security into cooking.
So I was a chief information officer and information security officer for a federally qualified health center, or FQHC, for about 9 years. Wow. And that was, at that point, I was working maybe 70, 80 hours.
Yeah, fucking weeks. Stressful is I think what you're saying.
Yeah, it was through COVID. It was through COVID because FQHCs, that's where a lot of people get care. A lot of people get care.
Yeah.
It's a really great organization to be a part of. But that was kind of what led me to my moments moving out to Iowa. I'm like, maybe this is the life for me. It wasn't, but I learned a lot about myself in the process. But I've been doing this for a long time. I have my CISSP. I ended up in the interim. I got a certified healthcare CIO certification from CHIME, which is the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives. They usually put out the most wired hospitals lists on an annual basis. It's good. It's good org. So I'm still doing the cybersecurity thing. Still sticking with healthcare. It's just cooking is one of these things that I found a love for, and I will occasionally stage for Chef John Moeller over at the Greenfield. Now, Chef John Moeller, he is a former White House chef. He worked for both Bushes and Clintons. And he has a restaurant out in Greenfield, out in the Lancaster area, here in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
So Yeah, so he's a cool dude. He has very very interesting stories that he can tell about
Oh, I bet.
his life working in
Favorite
the
late
White
night
House.
snacks. Probably the most like stupid question that he's asked every single time.
You know, I steer clear of any food questions when it comes to the White House because I was warned by the sous chef. He's like, the one question we all hate is like what do we love making the most?
Snacks? Yeah.
Yeah. So I steer clear of any food related questions. I always ask them life questions instead.
Nice.
But yeah, it's good. So like that's what keeps me coming back. It keeps me coming back to the kitchen. Pretty much every week. In fact, I think I'm working this Saturday. So it's good experience. Yeah. It's good experience because you're on your feet, you're moving quickly, and it's kind of that thing about cybersecurity. If you're in an incident response, right, you don't have time to really think. The goal is to just act. You just move through your playbook, and that's where a lot of cooking is really like that. You don't have time to think. You are just executing every single part of that dish to make sure it goes out the window hot and it's done right. It's done cleanly, right? Talking about sanitation, right? If we're doing things cleanly, cybersecurity, we want to be, we want to be mindful of that, right? So it's very similar in operation. So I find it interesting. I find it fun. I like the work.
I think the stress level, especially when you go to IR, makes a whole lot of sense. I can see a lot of crossover talent or ability in the two. And I think it's funny too, like I find that people that go to security generally are also people that have some level of hospitality, whether it's bar or restaurant or something in their background or in their future. So for me, I had a bunch of family health stuff go down around the pandemic, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to touch a computer again. In fact, it was really fucking hard. So I was like, I'm going to go bartend. This is the thing I love. I know how to do this. Let me do this. And then my second interview ended up being 5 rounds of technical questions. And because they actually were a group of it's called Your Third Spot, and they set up this place to be your third spot. So it's bars, games, whatever. And they also were doing it as like owner operators during the pandemic. And they understood what I knew best, which was technical stuff, not cooking stuff. But here we are. That, and I really want to one day have my Not Your Mommy's Pockets, which is yeah, right. It's a crazy name, but it's basically hot pockets that are empanadas, but with far more interesting shit inside. So like I like doing like jerk and collards and peas and rice all in an empanada. So it's like a hot pocket, but not your mommy's pockets.
I like that. Everyone always asks me if I plan on starting a restaurant or doing something like that, and I'll always like come up with some like joke, and it's the same joke all the time. So yeah, I'm going to start going to do like Middle Eastern cuisine, and I'm going to call the food truck, Hallelujah. And they're like, really? That's so interesting. No, I have no intention of doing that. It's too much work. I don't know how anyone does this. And it's funny because, I started a new job, and chef asked me a question. He's like, Daniel, how's the new job going? I said, it's pretty good. He said, what do you do? I spend a lot of time going to meetings, coordinating, collaborating with everyone, sending emails and everything. And he looks at me and says, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
And it's funny because everyone in the restaurant, they're like, oh, we want to get out. We want a desk job. And I'm like, I don't know. Do you really want a desk job? I mean, like, it seems great, but like, if you don't have,
So sea level to sea level, I'm a little washed. You're still on your journey. I don't want to do that again. And at the same time, every time somebody approaches me to do management, especially when they've been a solo contributor or individual contributor on a team where their work is like technical, it matters. I'm like, dude, do you understand how many fucking meetings you're gonna have? You're gonna have meetings about meetings, and then you're gonna have more meetings about more meetings. And it's a miracle if you find a kindred spirit in those meetings who's like, how about we have a document first and maybe start with some action plan and then talk about that instead of a meeting. It's insane. But thankfully,
if you don't do things right, you'll have a meeting to discuss why feelings were hurt. And this should have been beforehand.
You're exactly right. But I have definitely made the butter sizzle. and I am doing some off-the-cuff measuring of my chocolate, which unfortunately is milk, but it's going to be wonderful all the same. I wish I had coffee. I'm not an avid coffee drinker, but if I was, I would definitely supplement my milky chocolate with that. But I'm going to add some cinnamon to my brownie batter. Just go a little rogue.
If you have any powdered espresso, that's usually good to toss in the brownie mix.
I have ground espresso. I don't know that that's the same product. Probably
I wouldn't go that route. No. I make it just a bit green.
Yeah. So it's funny, on your intake form, which is something we ask all guests here to do, to share what they're intending on cooking. Daniel also shared an article, so I could come up with a genius list of questions to ask, which I don't have in front of me. So we're not going to go with that, but we're going to talk about the article, which I took the time to read and enjoyed. But you used the word abattoir, and I was like, oh, there's something different going on with this dude. Like, you have that element of cooking, but in your Substack article, the blog, about risk and strategy. And I was just curious, especially in healthcare, like, we end up talking about shit that, is that really what those conversations are like? Like, how does the business decide to align cybersecurity plans, especially in healthcare? Because to me, it seems like one good, meaningful breach would go a long way, but that's a lesson I hope to not have all the time.
Right. And, it's interesting because I had, a very similar conversation, with an employee, who's new to healthcare, hadn't worked in the field, and was surprised at how long it takes for everything to be done.
Right.
And we're seeing this, I want to say, like, that's in microcosm. In macro, if you take a step back and look at, what's going on with the changes to HIPAA. HIPAA has announced, here are the changes. You need to have an inventory of your infrastructure. Wow, like, shouldn't we already be doing that? They're saying you have to use encryption. Wait, really? We have to use encryption. And then they're saying things like, you have to have documented response plans. You have to use multi-factor authentication. These are all things that were recommended as best practice and should have been put into practice back in 2018. And we're now seeing that a lot of people are playing catch up with this because they were hoping they just kicked the ball, or kicked the can far enough down the road, they wouldn't have to worry about it. But it's finally catching up to them. And it's difficult because in healthcare, you don't really have much wiggle room. You don't. Because you are providing human service and you can't really profit from it. Insurance companies can, but their model is different. That's not what hospitals do. That's not what federally qualified health centers do. So it becomes very difficult to balance that. So you have to look at the highest risks, the most critical issues, and you have to address those, which is one of the reasons why I always take it back to ethics, because when it comes to business, you look at any major breach out there, it's always come down to someone saying, it's not that big of an issue because there's, money to be saved if we just don't do it. Right. If you look at all the public breaches out there, every big company out there, like Target, Equifax, Uber, all of these companies who have ever done something wrong, it was always a financial decision. And healthcare doesn't have that luxury. They can't be careless. They simply can't. And when it does happen, it usually comes down to, the exceptions to HIPAA come down to treatment, payment, and operations. And that's where every healthcare organization has always gotten hit. It's always been around exceptions to HIPAA with one of those three situations, right? Because, you can't operate if you are keeping everything as confidential as possible. If you're trying to keep everyone from accessing it, well, how are they going to operate? How's your organization going to operate? How are you going to provide treatment if you can't access medical records, if you can't access that protected health information? So
continuity.
And that's the gap. That's the gap. So we have to toe that line where we have to be the naysayer. And that's why I always say, don't take safety in the false refuge of consensus. You have to be the naysayer. You have to be focused on failure. You have to be concerned with those things because inevitably they are going to happen. It's a question of when, not if. So we have that responsibility. We do, and it's difficult for people entering into healthcare to make that connection.
That's a big role. Like I just think about the factor that most security folks don't have to deal with. You might lose money, you might lose reputation, and while those things aren't great, it's not the same as a loss of life or a loss of ability to treat or ability to continue operations, which are in and of themselves some people's only stop for treatment and only
Right.
option. So if you're not there, who is going to be there? That's a lot.
And you're more right than you realize, because it's actually getting even more dangerous in rural health. Because in rural health, and I spent some time out in Iowa, remember, your nearest hospital is going to be anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half. There's no urgent care. The urgent care is most likely the ER at the hospital that you're driving an hour and a half to get to. And if any of those hospitals get breached or if they have to shut down, it becomes very difficult for them to provide healthcare. So
I'm giggling because I'm like, how the fuck do you sleep at night? Like I'm a naturally fairly anxious person, and I very hats off, all the nice things to you for taking it on and facing it directly and not being scared to address the elephant in the room. And I think that reality check is super fucking critical.
There are things you can control and things you can't.
Yep.
All right. And that's key to really, keeping calm about all of this. And I've met some really great CISOs, recently who have, just really driven that point home. You can only address, you address these things as they come at you. It's going to happen. So you just take it. And if you have your playbooks, you learn from these experiences, right?
True.
That's, you can be stressed about it. No one's saying you can't. But I mean, is that really a way to live?
It's not fun, but it's definitely something I'm thankful someone like you is there to shoulder on my behalf. Because that's the reality of healthcare, is like it's a whole system. It's not just one thing. Okay, let's do a quick run through of ingredients, and then I'm going to keep talking, because I've got my flour, I've got my eggs, I've got my butter, I've got my 2 kinds of sugar, I have vanilla, I have salt, no leavening agent. I should be good to go, right? Chocolate, obviously. It is brown and it smells like chocolate.
Sounds about right.
I think the leavening agents is my only, did I forget something? Oh, and walnuts. Definitely got the walnuts. Is it really a brownie without nuts? I don't know.
So I'm with you on the nuts piece. I definitely think that nuts should be in more things, but I keep them out just in case anyone has a nut allergy, or in case someone decides, no, I just want a regular brownie this time. Okay, I'll toast them. I'll put them under the broiler. And
I was debating that, honestly, with this. That was my whole thing. A toasted nut makes all the difference. I was, I don't know how familiar you are with Egyptian food, but I was making a nut topping. It's called duka. I don't know. I don't do pronunciation. But what I do is make an amazing topping to white bean dip, or you can crust fish in it. And it's just like seeds and nuts ground together with cumin, fennel, a few other spices, toasted. Shit's heaven.
That sounds incredible.
Sometimes I just want white bean dip, so I make it by the serving. Kind of silly.
I've got to start doing more vegetarian cooking, so I may have to have that recipe when we're done here.
I would be happy to share it for sure. It's super easy, and I don't know, for me, vegetables were a lot of I was a vegetarian for a decade, and the thing is at the time I didn't really eat vegetables. I ate bullshit, and eating bullshit made me feel like bullshit. So I had to learn to love vegetables. So I got a CSA box from my local farmer's market of everything that's grown here. And I'm like, look, this shit has the best probability of being tasty, and I'm going to figure it out. And that was about 20 years ago. And now I'm a pretty avid vegetable eater, and generally do it just because of preference more so than health. But I do quite enjoy the vegetables. Funny enough, I don't
here's
eat chocolate,
good news.
But I eat brownies.
No one can really afford protein these days anyway. But wait, you don't eat chocolate all that often?
I don't like chocolate. I like brownies. I like this brownie recipe. I actually will enjoy. But I eat this. I eat my stepdaddy's yellow cake with the fudgy frosting. That's different. That's about it. Nostalgia, basically, is what you're hearing.
Okay. All right.
I also don't drink wine. So you're the, like, people want to be my friends because, like, come corporate season and when all the shit comes in, I'm like, I literally don't eat any of this, so please enjoy. You know, do what you can. So what when you started, so you ended at a C-level in the security space or information space. How did you get there? Were you from IT, from networking?
Yeah, so it was actually kind of a funny series of events, and not so much funny like ha ha, funny more like funny like when a clown dies.
Curious,
The
right?
the it was basically just an artful series of layoffs, and I found myself working for an MSP. And because I lived
Okay.
5 minutes closer to Philadelphia than anyone else, and I wasn't afraid to go into the city,
Right.
they sent me to an FQHC, and I did such a good job that the FQHC bought out my contract and hired me full time as their director, which then of course became the C-level because they originally had everyone as a director, but then they just changed everything to match the C-suite
Nice.
I guess organizational chart. So that's really what did it. I had been doing clinical systems analysis and design for like a long time. I taught people how to use electronic medical records about 20 years ago.
Oh, I know.
That was how I started.
I did Epic, and I don't ever want to talk about that experience again as a system integrator for bringing like iPads into the fucking doctor's office waiting rooms and all. Like, my whole thing was I wanted to sell Apple, and I was a partner who Apple didn't want me to sell their product, but I'm like, haha, I know how I can do it. I'm going to do these e-signatures and do EHR. And this is going to be great. It wasn't fucking great, but it definitely got me selling Apple. And it worked on many fronts afterward, but EHR is not a system to joke around with.
No.
EHR, depending on what your flavor is. So you did the MSP thing. You came from more of a, I like that. I think people that have to talk to other people should have spent time doing customer service, which MSP life is ripe with. Like in some manner, that's what you're delivering.
Yes. There's a legendary joke in IT that most people go into it because they want to work with computers. The truth is they really work with people. And that is the biggest thing that a lot of IT people forget. That,
for sure.
Anyone who calls and they're pissed because their computer isn't working. I clicked this and it didn't work. I clicked this and it didn't work, and this isn't working. I hate this computer. This computer's stupid. I like my old computer better. Same as typical of any argument you may have with a partner, right? Like usually these things are not about what they sound like they're really about, and IT people have to recognize that. They have to recognize that and take it back to them. Don't take anything personally. Don't assume anything. Those are key to survival.
For sure. For sure. Where are you at with your brownies?
They just went into the oven. I'm setting my timer right now.
Most excellent. I just popped mine in as well. And definitely we'll be catching up together after the stream to show off these brownies. It'll be a day for Daniel, and then you'll see my before and you can see his after. And we can compare. If mine's sliding around, I might heed the advice and put them in the what is that called? The fridge. Oh my God, it's been a long day.
That's why I always use parchment paper when it goes in. It's easy. Once they're refrigerated, it's a solid brick. You just lift it right out, and then you can cut them beautifully. You don't have to worry about anything sticking to the knife. It's wonderful. It's perfect.
What's your favorite thing to cook? That isn't brownies,
because
we'll assume this is
brownies. It's funny. This is one of those questions I've asked chefs, and they hate answering this question. I don't mind answering it. I don't mind answering it at all because the one thing that I really enjoy making, if I have a choice to cook, is risotto. A lot of people can't cook rice, and with risotto, there's a lot of things you can experiment with. As long as you get the stirring down, it's mostly just stirring. As long that's really all it is.
It's
stirring.
All stirring. Stirring and patience. And like it's an active thing that's going very slow.
Right. and you get to experiment with that. My wife, my partner, she's not a big fan of mushrooms. She doesn't mind the flavor, but it's the texture she's not a big fan of.
Yeah,
So
they're gross.
I love mushrooms. I think they're delicious, but not everyone feels the same way as me. So what did I do? I took some dried mushrooms. I put them into a spice grinder, ground them into a nice fine powder, so I get the umami burst of the mushrooms without getting the negative texture. So, for me, I get what I'm looking for. She gets what she's looking for without having to worry about that. So you get to experiment, you get to flex a little. And, risotto is a good way of doing that, because if not everyone makes it, it's one of those things, I make a good risotto. Really? You cook risotto?
Really? It's like peasant rice. It's so simple. And I love how you're right. Like, I truly am like the things that get people like, I don't know how to phrase this, but like there are certain dishes that are regionally known all across the world. And once you know why and how, you can be the expert. And then people have never seen this. Like I made the Spanish, the tomato bread, right? Like I don't do Spanish. I'm sorry, my pronunciation sucks, but it's literally toasted bread with some garlic rubbed on it and a grated tomato that you like let it do its thing and then put it on top. That's it. It's like tomato salsa, but not chunks. Pan au tomate, I think. That shit is the most basic thing, but having been in Barcelona, going to every single place that has tapas, they're all different. It's not the same. And you can tell the ones that are a master. And I think it's another recipe like risotto where you can kind of do your thing and still flex. I like that.
And that's it. A lot of these recipes really are simple. I will say one of my favorite movies about food is the horror movie with Ralph Fiennes and oh my goodness, Anya Taylor-Joy, The Menu.
Okay, this is exciting. It's Halloween, it's spooky season. I've never heard of this. I'm very excited.
If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching The Menu. It's so much fun. It's absolutely delightful. It's delightful, and I love it because you will totally identify with that is her name, right? Anya Taylor-Joy. Is that it? Am I getting? I want to say that.
Listen, you could just make shit up, and no one knows. I won't know.
Yes, it is her. It is her. But like you totally identify with her character, and you can also see where Ralph Fiennes' character is coming from. But like, it's great because it really does lampoon a lot of the artsy dishes that you see out there. Because some of, in my opinion, I will say this. There's nothing wrong with this, all right. But to me, it's a form of affectation.
It's not food. Yeah.
I would say it is food, but it's a very artistic way of displaying it.
I was going to say it's art to me. Like, and I appreciate art. I love art. But when I'm like, I want food, I'm like, I don't want some frozen shit that's in the half moon on a thing with a flower petal and then it's still smoking. And I'm like, what do I do with that?
Right. Like what's edible? Like what on this is edible? Like, oh no, wait, that's the dish.
Right. Like, do you eat the frozen spoon that it's on and it's smoking? How do you pick it up? What do you do with your hand? I don't know.
Right.
These are all
and
questions.
That's where it gets kind of wacky for me. I've not been. I much prefer the simpler dishes where it's like what you see is what you get. I much prefer that.
I mean, you're in a great city. If you landed back in Philly, which I think I heard, I'm not 100%, but if that's where
I'm only an hour outside.
Fucking fantastic food. Like, I can appreciate. Atlanta's I'm in Atlanta. It's a very foodie city. You could pick a different spot every night and eat different and eat well and never have to visit somewhere that wasn't to your liking. Like, there are so many places to choose from that I feel spoiled when I go out in the wild, but I had an incredible food experience in Philly between the food terminal hall thing. Like, I think it was a train station and
terminal market.
Yeah. And I'm going to look up the name of this restaurant. It's going to take me a minute, so I'll save it for after the stream, but you and your partner would love it if she's into vegetables. Like, they have meat, but they have everything, and it's a tiny little hole in the wall, beautiful. This time of year is perfect for it. They have a courtyard with lots of like trees and lights, and you sit outside or in this tiny ass little house, and it's like little brownstone thing by the big university medical center.
Okay, so you were close to.
It has like a name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know, there's so many places around Hub. I haven't been around. I haven't been around UPenn's campus all that often to know. I
Yeah,
usually
this
didn't
was two
travel that
years
far to
ago.
that side.
This was Raíces. I don't know if you've encountered Eric and the whole group of Hispanic people like doing the cyber group together. Raíces, it means roots. They had their
I've not.
first conference up there. So that was 2 years ago when I was doing XR Village stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, fun stuff.
Okay. I'll have to look. I'll have to look both of those up. Yeah. It's Philly does have some great food spots. It's so underestimated. You know, I rarely have had a bad meal in Philly.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I was happy at every single turn, and that's rare. Like I travel with food now, and I travel only and stay in Airbnbs so that we can have at least 2 decent meals a day and move on with life.
the surprising thing to me was moving to Lancaster because
Hmm.
we are residing just on the edge of the downtown area, and I say downtown Lancaster, and everyone's like, "Huh? What? There's actually a
You're like, what
downtown?"
do you mean?
Yes, we do have.
It's like
There are
downtown.
some tall buildings out here. There are some buildings,
As long as there's life.
and right. Well, F&M's campus is not too far from here. So we have a lot of college students in and around this area. And I live figuratively, I'm sorry, not figuratively, literally not figuratively, across the street from the minor league stadium. So,
Nice.
you know, we can see games from the rooftop. It's pretty cool, but there are amazing restaurants out here, and you'd have no idea how good they
Yeah,
are.
I believe
It's
it.
wild to me. I was even just blown away because, you know, having come from a rural area in Iowa, and that town was 10,000 people. All right,
Yeah,
10,000 people. That's a drop in the bucket compared to, you know,
right,
Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs, and even Lancaster has, you know, has numbers much higher than that. But it's you know, coming to a rural area like this, I'm like, wow, this is nice. There's actually great places
right.
to eat out here.
I felt that way. I was just in Grand Rapids actually for GrrCon. Grr, best airport code ever. Like it's GRR. And great conference, by the way. But also their food was surprisingly good for how, like, it also felt a little bit like, what is it, Stepford Wives? Because it's all like Amway. So everybody's kind of perfect. But it was still pretty tasty. And the people at GrrCon were not like this. They were very nice people.
Detroit has amazing food.
My friend
I
Caitlin is up there, and she has always she is a huge Detroit fan. Does IR for Target actually, the Gambling Bird. She was one of the original, often seen hosts of this show. But she has been on about the revitalization of Detroit and just like how fucking amazing the food is.
It was so delightful. I was there for a job interview a
Nice.
few years ago, and it was just it was wild. I was completely. I went in with an open mind. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I asked a few people, you know, who are from the area. I'm like, where should I go for food? Because some of
Right.
them are from, I think, some of them are from like the like Ann Arbor area, and they're
Okay.
like, oh, here's where you should go if you're going to Detroit, and it was incredible. It was incredible. I only wish I had more money and time to spend there because I would have
It's the
gone to so
truth.
many more places. The architecture was absolutely beautiful. Everyone was so friendly. Like you
Yeah.
could just like stop anyone on the street and ask them a question. They'll stop and tell you, you know,
Yeah.
exactly where to go. And it was wild to me to see that level of you know, friendliness. I mean, in Philly,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's going to be the same way. You know, even if they do tell you, you know, like, oh yeah, it's at 14th Street, when they really mean Broad, right?
People were totally
But
nice in Philly. They were super nice. Women really love the sports there. That's what I realized the most. I was like, holy shit, they're whipping out phones and really enthusiastic about them birds. I'm like, all right, my birds are a little different, but I'm happy that you have this amount of enthusiasm for your local people. Like I'm totally here for that.
yeah,
Cool.
Philly's a fun city for fandom. You know, it's yeah.
The Goose
I'm
Pulse,
not a
that's so
sports guy,
good.
but
Me either. I'm like,
I give everyone.
I think that's why I look at it almost like science, where I'm like out in the wild. I'm like, holy shit, that lady just whipped out her phone because she wants to make, like, I was going to say touchdown. I think that's not what it's called. Fuck, kick off that one. That's the one. It's fine. Daniel, it's been a delight. I hope your brownies are lovely, and I hope this leaves you an adequate window of time to go cook some dinner. PB&J,
I,
it's something.
I may just walk across the street and get some Thai food. There's a wonderful Thai place there. I'll do that. I'll do that as a treat because I haven't gotten much takeout lately. So I'm trying to save money as much as possible. But you know what?
Same.
I've earned it. Right?
You have
How about you?
it.
Are you gonna do anything for dinner?
I have lasagna I made earlier and pulled it out so I could eat. But I don't really want lasagna. I kind of want Thai food now. So thank you for that. But it's a good plan, and you've definitely earned it. Thank you for coming on and cooking brownies with us. I look forward to seeing what they look like.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a good night. Bye, guys.
You too. Take care.